Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Shadow and Sun Show, and welcome to the next Conan story in the Coming of Conan, which is the God in the Bowl. Is that right? Let me make sure I didn't say that wrong. Right, the God in the Bowl. It starts out kind of almost like a bit of a murder mystery, with Conan being the most likely culprit, but of course we know, well, if you've read the story or you know Conan, you know he's not a cold-blooded murderer. He usually has a pretty darn good reason. However, he was not the murderer this time. As a matter of fact, it turns out, I'll get to that at the end, but it's one of the most unlikely or most underused of monsters out of the old monster manual, and obviously, you know, mythology, if you will, that I almost never ever see used, but this time it was used as sort of a guided missile, a tool of assassination. The bowl itself is an ancient relic from days gone by, the before times, if you will, from Stygia, and it comes into the hands of one of Thothamon's enemies, and he uses it to get rid of that enemy of his with no telltale evidence to prove. Well, kind of, there's a little bit of evidence that's hinted to at the end of the story that there was in fact Thothamon, and he planned the whole thing like a master criminal that he is. But it's a fun little story. I believe it's only about 40 pages. I read the whole thing in about a half hour, maybe 45 minutes. Yeah, it's like 23 pages. Not bad. I'm not gonna say it's one of my favorites, but it is a lot of fun. If you have the opportunity to go and read it, especially if you can read them in the proper order, through Conan's chronological, life story. I don't like reading back and forth, the way Howard wrote them. I like reading them in the chronological order that they happen, so it makes for a longer, more interesting narrative than trying to remember or just taking them, as one little bite at a time. I am enjoying the reimagining of Conan in his life, going from teenager. Now he's about 19 in this story, and I know when I was 19, I wasn't doing anything like this, but I mean, I was getting into trouble, obviously, but never cutting the heads off of snake monsters. Which brings me to the culprit at hand. It was actually basically a naga. It was a serpent with a beautiful human head that was stuffed into the bowl, so that spoilers, so that the recipient, the person who thought they were going to steal the ancient diadem, crown, jewel that was hidden in the big giant bowl, they were going to get to it first, and lo and behold, no. It must have been a hell of a surprise. You open up this big giant bowl thinking you're going to get the treasure, and out comes something, some nightmarish serpent monster with a supposedly beautiful human head. Is pretty creepy. So we're getting back into the sword and sorcery, the cosmic horror, or just good old-fashioned pulp action fiction that is this story. I hope you guys will continue to follow along as I read through the rest of the stories. The next one is Rogues in the House. One fled, one dead, one sleeping in a golden bed. Old rhyme. That's how it starts out. I will have that one for you bright and squirrely Monday morning, I do believe. And that only leaves a few more stories after that before I have to go into the next book in the series. But I have a few things going on next week, so I will probably space those out a little further than one every other day. But that's what I got for you this morning. Before you go traipsing off into your wonderful weekend, I will be running my second Savage Sword game I'll be running it Friday evening. For those of you who are in it, we start about 6 to 6:30, depending on whether I go out to dinner tomorrow, on my Discord. And there is a special Friday night Savage Sword voice chat versus the Wednesday night. That way the memes don't cross over and nobody knows what's going on from one game to the other, because while it is the same game, I expect completely different results. So we'll see what happens. So far, everybody's been having a good time. Wish me luck, because I got a bigger group on Friday. But I will see you guys Saturday as well, where George should be running his Star Wars West End D6 game. I hope you guys will join us for that. But in the meantime, have a great weekend, and I will see you guys real soon. Happy trails.